All right, my friends, welcome back to All Cars Reacts. If you're new here, I am John, and it is time for a new reaction video. Today, we're going to do the 2007 Toyota Camry. Yes, so I'm doing a little mini-series on the mid to late 2000s cars. We finished up the smaller cars because I'm just tired of talking about them. We're moving on to the mid-size cars, so I decided to start with, well, the big seller. Right? The big one. I am not excited to talk about the Camry, I'll be honest with you, but we can't ignore it. So we're going to kick off this new section of the miniseries with the Camry, the vanilla, the OG. So anyway, as always, make yourself comfortable. You and I are going to reminisce a little bit about yet another generation of what is one of the most boring cars ever created. Grab your beverage of choice. We have some dregs of decaf now, and let's get into it and get it over with.
Up until the 1990s, America's best-selling car always wore a domestic badge. However, since then, the biggest sellers, while still made in America, have carried import names. And for most of the last decade, that name was Toyota Camry. With more than 6.5 million on U.S. highways, Camry resides in more family garages than any other car. And for 2007, an all-new Camry is on deck with high hopes of continuing its winning ways. A machine doesn't get to be America's best-selling car if it doesn't offer the top combination of comfort, safety, practicality, performance, and value. And the 2007 Toyota Camry is designed to offer all that and more. This all-new sixth-generation American-built Camry is, like its predecessor, built on a platform shared with the upscale Lexus ES350. But now that means a roomier 2.2-inch longer 109.3-inch wheelbase and a wider, more stable track both front and rear, plus a completely revised McPherson strut front and dual-link rear suspension, which rolls on larger wheels, 16 inches standard and 17 inches for the now more sport-tuned SE. The Camry's mechanicals are wrapped in the sportiest, most aggressive sheet metal ever with tons more personality than last year. Now, the grille would suit any Mazda, but overall there is a sophistication to the styling with premium details like S-type blistered wheel wells that move this Camry to a higher station. Things are more enticing.
All right, before they go into the engine, let's roll back here because I have two different thoughts on the styling. First off is I've never been a fan of Toyota styling overall. I've talked about that multiple times. And they went from being super boring to funky looking to just plain ugly in some cases. And this is one of the funky looking ones. I didn't like the generation before. And this restyle, the only thing I like about it is the headlights. But the grille is just hideous. I despise this. I really do. Now, overall, the rest of it is tidy. That's about the best I can say about it. You know, if we look back here at the back of it, it's fine. It's a weird combination of like straight lines, and then they have kind of roundedness to it at the same time. It doesn't work for me. It's not hideous. It's not offensively ugly, but if you want to drive something, shouldn't it at least be attractive? Of course, hundreds of thousands of people disagree with me and bought this thing, but I just don't find this to be a very attractive car overall. Just tidy in dimensions. But then let's talk about this other one. This higher level version in the blue with a different grille completely changes the front end of the car for me. Fundamentally, this is better looking. Now, they said it was a Mazda-like grille. I'm not quite sure I see that, but absolutely a better looking car. And that kind of plays into something that I believe that I've always said. You can tell the goodness of a car from the base level. You know, anybody, if you've got the right platform for it, anybody can put in better suspension and ground effects and a spoiler and and everything else, and put in a hopped up engine and make it a more fire breathing car, and everybody raves about how great it is. But it's the base level that tells you whether a car is fundamentally good, that base engine, transmission, and styling. So the higher level, sportier Camry looks a lot better, but fundamentally, I just don't like the styling on this car.
More enticing under the hood as well, with an expanded range of power plants. The base engine is a mostly carryover 2.4-liter twin-cam four-cylinder with 158 horsepower and 161 pound-feet of torque. But the 3.5-liter variable timing V6 that's also shared with the Lexus ES350 is new with 268 horsepower and 248 pound-feet of torque. And finally, there's the new hybrid powertrain that mates a modified 2.4-liter 4 with 192 horsepower and 137 pound-feet of torque with a strong 45 horsepower electric motor that has 199 pound-feet of torque of its own. Like other Toyota hybrids, the Camry will run on any combination of gas or electric power. All Power drives the front wheels through a 5-speed manual or automatic with the i4, a 6-speed automatic for the V6, or a continuously variable transmission for the hybrid. EPA mileage figures for the V6.
Let's talk about the engines real quick before we talk about the gas mileage. It is hard to get excited about these engines other than the fact that I have an exceptionally high opinion of them, at least for their durability. It's a personal preference. I've never quite liked the tonality of the Toyota four cylinders. They just don't sound as refined as some other ones out there, specifically Hondas. But that's a personal preference. There's nothing really to say about this other than it's a good powertrain that I think we're going to find as we go through this miniseries is just thoroughly competitive. The hybrid is worth talking about simply because Toyota was doing hybrid. They were an expert in hybrid. They put the hybrid into their midsize sedan, and while I've always found their hybrid to be a little rough around town when the engine has to switch on, like when you're at a stop sign or something like that, a stoplight. There's a shudder, and it feels a little more crude, but you typically can't argue with what it does for your gas mileage. So let's see what they say here.
Automatic or 22 city 31 highway. We managed a reasonable 26 miles per gallon in mixed driving. A weekend in the hybrid model, however, was enlightening. The EPA predicts 43 city, 37 highway, and we averaged a fine 38 miles per gallon. The hybrid drivetrain may sound like a four-cylinder, but it feels more like a V6, delivering good reserve punch for fast traffic and highway passing. But it was the new V.
And that's kind of what I expected there before they get into the actual performance of it here. For the first of the 31 miles per gallon highway that they were talking about, that's a little disappointing. But the hybrid, it's strong. That's a good result. And, having driven multiple Camrys with a hybrid, and my mother-in-law has one, it's hard to argue with them. It is a strong powertrain choice.
6 we took to our track, and it's capable of a 0 to 60 of 6.8 seconds. The quarter mile runs 14.9 seconds at 99 miles per hour. Both times are about a second and a half quicker than the previous Camry V6. The engine is as refined as it is fast, with a nice flat torque curve. The transmission shifts are smooth and precise, with perfectly matched gear ratios. With optional stability and traction control, the 2007 model is also the most agile Camry ever. While even in SE trim, this is hardly a sports sedan, the Camry does have only moderate front push and overall is very predictable. As before, however, the steering lacks feel and there is a fair bit of body roll. The nose dives a bit under braking as well, but stops from 60 are solid at 126 feet. There's good pedal feel from the standard all-disc controlled by ABS and brake assist. Off the track, the new Camry...
Quick. That's going to be interesting to see how the other cars compare to this. But that's quick and exactly what you would expect through the slalom. Tight, controlled. It's a sedan, not a sports sedan. So, more body roll, but as they came through the quick changes, the rear end stayed tucked with just a little bit of shudder on the outside. No problems with how it handles. Surprise. A Camry that accelerates fine, stops fine, handles fine, does everything okay. No real earth-shattering result here, right? And the braking, a lot of the smaller cars we were looking at were doing it like 124, 125 feet, things like that. So 126, absolutely nothing to complain about. A solid, competent car.
Camry's ride is more Lexus than Toyota. It's very smooth and quiet with just a touch of hop over sharp bumps. The interior would also fit an entry-level luxury car. Smart looking with interesting materials and plastics and very well equipped. That includes 7 standard airbags, driver's knee, front side impact, and 2-row head curtains. The instrument panel design mixes a conservative 3-zone shape with unusual frosted green tone plastics surrounding our XLE's 440-watt 6-disc stereo with MP3 and Bluetooth capability. And dual-zone automatic climate controls. Navigation is an option. Our car's 8-way power driver's seat works with the tilt and now also telescoping steering wheel to provide an excellent driving position for all sizes. There is good leg but only adequate headroom in the rear. Our XLE's cushy folding bench also reclines and is split 40-20-40 for excellent flexibility. The trunk floor remains long and flat, but overall cargo space is reduced by some 2.2 cubic feet from last year to a still acceptable 14.5. Prices, however, have changed.
That's really interesting. They made the trunk 2.2, I think they said, cubic feet smaller, and it's still 14 and a half. That's not bad. That's not bad at all, and it's a very usable space. Back seat was fine. Like that it reclines. That's kind of cool. Up front, so this is a nice car to spend time in. High quality plastics, good seats, good enough seats, right? I am sure the ergonomics are fine if you drive the car every day. But I personally find the middle part of this dash to be on the verge of offensive. I dislike it that much. From the silvery look to it all that just looks cheap and chintzy to me, like something you would get at a party store. And then even when they were adjusting I think it was the fan speed, it's tap, 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 not a knob. There's just some ergonomic questions here about how many buttons and how big the buttons or how small they are making the buttons. I don't know why people rave about this. I think it's kind of ugly, and I just think it could be better. I'm sure it holds up, and I'm sure that people who drove it were perfectly comfortable with everything in here once they got used to it. But from the first time you sit in it, ew, it's almost like, but not quite, some of those Cadillacs where they used all the piano black and then you had the haptic touch to do things. It's the same kind of thing here, like, yuck. It's an opinion, guys. It's an opinion.
Even less, and range from $18,850 for the 4-cylinder CE manual to $28,100 for our V6 powered XLE. Expect the Camry Hybrid to be priced around $27,000 when it arrives this summer. The Toyota Camry has been the best-selling car in the land for most of the last decade. But while the success of previous Camrys may have had as much to do with brand quality and reliability as actual design, the 6th generation car clearly stands on its own automotive legs. In fact, we'll be shocked if the 2007 Toyota Camry doesn't continue its predecessor's winning ways. It's more refined, more powerful, very stylish and safe, and even has efficient hybrid power. Indeed, the new Camry is going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, and they're not wrong. I think you can hear it in my voice. I'm not excited about this car. I'm not. It's a situation where I respect this car. And if you own one, if you drive by and somebody's got one in their driveway, you know what? They bought a solid value, and it's going to be reliable, and it's going to be durable, and they made a smart financial choice, versus, say, a used Maserati. Okay. But there's nothing about this car that's interesting to me other than the fact it just does everything well. And Toyota had boring styling, and then they started to try to express themselves a little bit more. I really have believed since about the late 90s that Toyota should just fire their styling department and start over. Almost every generation is worse looking than the previous one to my discerning eye. And this one kind of falls in the same thing. The prices, they're probably fair to everything else out there. They do strike me as slightly high, but we'll see as we see some more of these and get direct comparisons with some of its primary competitors. Overall, this is the car you buy when you just want to make the smart choice. And what Toyota did do as they changed their styling to be, say, more expressive and less vanilla, they also improved the handling of the car. It still rode well, but at least it had, if not the soul of a sports machine, at least it had a little zig to it. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but it's going to be more interesting than this, I guarantee it. But it will not be something that outsold it. And that's probably what really matters here, is how many you sell, at least if you're Toyota. Thanks for being here. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me and one of the most boring cars in the world. Talk to you soon.